Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor and pleasure to have you all here tonight at this event, a new event within the old series of London lectures on Islamic heritage. In tonight's lecture, we'll be tackling a new topic, an interesting one, and will open new horizons and discussion related to the rich and diverse Islamic heritage, namely the one related to the so-called Islamic Domestic Architecture. Is a new topic we haven't explored, at least in the foundation, before, and it will tackle different aspects related to this topic itself, and it will be delivered by a senior architect, our keynote speaker tonight, an old friend of Al-Furqan, Dr Subhi Al-Azzawi. So welcome, thanks for being with us tonight. Before I give the floor to our keynote speaker, I'll have a brief introduction. I'm delighted to invite our chairman, Mr. Sharaf Ahmed Zaki Yamani, to welcome you and say a few words. Please, Sharaf.
Thank you, sir. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Distinguished guests, friends of the Al-Furqan Islamic Heritage Foundation, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure, and I think I moved this. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all tonight to this very important lecture, part of our journey here at the Foundation in discovering and promoting the Islamic world's intellectual and cultural heritage. Today, as Sally mentioned, we turn our attention to the homes of our past, those intimate, inward-looking spaces that quietly reflect the genius of Islamic architectural thinking. The indigenous courtyard house, shaped over centuries by climate, culture, and craftsmanship, is not just a form of shelter, but also a statement of harmony between people and their environment. Few are better placed to guide us through this very important topic than our guest here tonight. We are honored to welcome Professor Subhi Al-Azzawi, a dear friend of the Foundation, a deep thinker, a practitioner who has spent a lifetime studying Islamic architecture and environmental design. He brings with him not only the eye of an architect, but also the depth of a scholar and the insight of someone who has long reflected on the intersection between heritage and modernity. His lecture tonight is more than just a reflection on architectural history. It is a timely and vital contribution to the broader conversations about how we live, how we build, and how we take care of our surroundings. At a time when the world is grappling with climate change and environmental degradation, the architectural wisdom of our Islamic tradition offers not just inspiration, but also practical and time-tested solutions. And this is because these houses were designed in harmony with nature, beautifully and efficiently, long before sustainability was ever a global concern. Professor Subhi's work throughout the ages, especially his analysis of thermal comfort in naturally cooled spaces like the Neem Sirdab, shows how science and tradition have long been partners in Islamic design. And understanding these traditions resonates deeply with the Foundation's mission. We are a foundation devoted to preserving and promoting the Islamic written heritage, but we are equally mindful of how that heritage extends beyond the page, shaping the spaces where people live, where they worship, and where they gather. In many ways, these homes are manuscripts built from bricks and stones. silently embodying the ethical, environmental, and spiritual principles, maqasid al-sharia, that have guided us for the Islamic life for generations. And through Professor Subhi's lecture, you might also deduce that our Islamic heritage is a tradition of integration, where ideas from diverse civilizations came together to shape a unified architectural and intellectual legacy. Therefore, what we examine today is not just architecture, but also a reflection on a worldview that harmonized faith with function, heritage with innovation, and thought with form. So as we listen tonight, I hope we can also reflect not only on what these homes were, but what they continue to teach us. At a time when the world urgently seeks sustainable and harmonious ways of living, these architectural traditions remind us that solutions can be found not only in innovation, but also in memory. They offer a powerful example of how to live with the environment, not against it, and how cultural identity and ecological responsibility can coexist beautifully. Once again, thank you all for joining us here today. I sincerely thank Professor Subhi Al-Azzawi for being with us, and I thank the team for organizing such an important lecture. I hope you all enjoy what promises to be a most fascinating night. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sharif, again for your kind words. Honorable guests, as was mentioned, and as we already went into the topic already, the Islamic domestic architecture reflects the rich cultural, religious, social, and climatic values of Muslim societies across different regions and eras. While Islamic domestic architecture varied widely depending on traditions, on local materials, the climate, it consistently incorporated certain core principles such as privacy, inward orientation, adaptability, etc., ensuring the implementation and preservation of the so-called high objectives of Islam, i.e. the well-known the preservation of faith or religion, hifd al-din, the preservation of life, hifd al-nafs, the preservation of lineage or hifd al-nasl, the preservation of the intellect, hifd al-aql, and the preservation of property, hifd al-mal. So all those are sort of incorporated in a way or another within what Professor Subhi will tell us tonight. Nevertheless, in tonight's lecture, taking into consideration that the topic is so broad, and when Professor Subhi sent us the number of slides is huge, and we would need the whole night really. So the challenge will be to squeeze that such a wide and interesting topic in a few minutes that we have in our disposition. So hopefully 50 minutes. Maximum 55 minutes. So therefore the main focus tonight will be on the climatic and environmental design and visual aesthetics of Islamic domestic architecture. As we aimed also for this lecture to be a humble contribution in highlighting the so-called World Environment Day, which is observed every year on the 5th of June, which coincides to be tomorrow. And this day, of course, in light of the challenges that Sharaf mentioned, highlighting such dates does contribute in one way or another in encouraging awareness and action for the protection of the environment as well. For those who don't know, Dr. Subhi, he has got a very rich career, very rich CV. I'm unable to read the couple of pages that he sent to us, but I'll highlight for the sake of those who don't know him and for the sake of the viewers later on our YouTube channel. Dr. Subhi Al-Azzawi is a practicing architect, researcher, independent scholar, writer, and speaker on the architecture and culture. as well as the climates and the environments of the Arab world and the Muslim world, especially the indigenous courtyard houses and modern non-courtyard houses. He covers climatically responsive urbanism, environmentally friendly architecture, energy-conscious designs, and culturally aware buildings. He was born and brought up in Baghdad to a master builder, Usta Mi'mari, which probably reminds of Mimar Sinan as well. So Usta Mi'mari his father, his parental and maternal grandfathers were also master builders, and his family has produced a total of 12 of them over 3 generations since 1875 of his paternal and maternal sides. Dr. Al-Azzawi received his architectural education at the Architectural Association School of Architecture in London, 1962-68, when he was awarded the AA Diploma in Architecture. He also had concentrated studies in the concepts, designs and detailing of tropical architecture in his final year, when he was awarded a certificate in tropical studies. Additionally, Dr. Al-Azzawi had carried out his doctorate research thesis at the Bartlett School of Architecture and Planning, University College London, 1969-73 and 1981-84, when he was awarded a PhD degree. He also studied part-time urban design at the University of Westminster, 1997-1999. For over 40 years, Dr. Subhi has practiced architecture and urban design, mainly in the UK, with schemes to his credit in London, while working for 8 years as a project architect in the Department of Architecture and Civic Design of the Greater London Council, and while working for 13 years as senior architect in building design, Haringey Council. He also worked in private practice, both on his own and with other architects. Additionally, Dr. Subhi acted as a consultant to British and American architects and planners working in the Arab world. The CV goes on, but I'll sum up with the fact that Dr. Subhi has edited so far, illustrated and co-authored with the well-known professor Otto Königsberger and Martin Evans, a book entitled Climate and House Design, which was published by the United Nations in 1971. He has also published a number of articles and technical research papers, which forms a separate list of publications, and he's now engaged on writing 4 or 5 volumes on the indigenous courtyard houses in Iraq. Very often we see him in our library, and it's always a great pleasure to have him around, and we are enlightened to have him tonight with us in his talk tonight entitled Islamic Domestic Architecture Through the Ages, Climatic and Environmental Design and Visual Aesthetics. Dr. Subhi Al-Azzawi will take us on a visual journey exploring the indigenous courtyard houses which are encountered in various towns and cities of the Islamic world in the hot and dry climates, with a main focus, as I said, on urban planning and urban design, as well as on climatic and environmental design. Please join me in welcoming Professor Subhi to address this distinguished audience.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. شكرا جزيلا لحضوركم. I am honored by your presence. السيدة حرم المرحوم الشيخ أحمد زكي يماني. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Sayyid Sharaf Ahmed Yamani. He is the director. He is the chair of the directors of Al-Furqan. I think in the past used to be the board of trustees. Yeah. And Sayyid Al-Ustad Saleh Shah Zavari. He's the director general of Al-Furqan Islamic Heritage Foundation. I normally don't read my lectures because I want to have eye contact with you. But I've just got a bit of things to say before I start. It is both a great honor and enormous pleasure to be invited and asked by Al-Furqan Islamic Heritage Foundations to give a lecture about Islamic architecture, sometimes in the light of intentions or objectives of Islamic jurisdiction, which is Maqasid al-Sharia al-Islamiyya al-Khamsa, as mentioned by Ustad Saleh. But really today I am concentrating on the climatic and environmental aspect as well as the aesthetics, reasons for it. And I shall relate these to Al-Quran al-Sharif and also to the honorary saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and to show the relationship between what the master did and how they actually inspired. Because most of the master builders were believers in Islam, and most of them have been to the Hajj more than once, yeah? And they also, when they talk about these things, they always give you one surah of Al-Quran to justify their doing. Now, I have been engaged in this about 50 concepts of environmental design, and these have been actually the subject of my research, study, analysis, appraisal, writing, and lecturing for over 50 years, as well as practicing architecture mainly in the United Kingdom for over 40 years. In my opinion, there is almost no subject more important than houses, which satisfy the needs of their inhabitants functionally, socially, religiously, climatically, and environmentally, as well as economically, financially, and culturally. And in meeting their hopes and their aspirations, particularly as the family is the nucleus of Islamic society and the latter is the essence of and bedrock of the Islamic Ummah. These concepts have their equivalents in other regions of the world, whether in developing or developed countries. Therefore, with the permission of the Yamani family and its relatives, as well as that of Al-Furqan Islamic Heritage Foundations, I should like to dedicate this lecture to the memory of His Excellency the late Sheikh Ahmed Zaki Yamani, rahimahullah ta'ala, and may his soul, body and soul rest in peace, for establishing this uniquely wonderful foundations with its name as the truly divine inspiration to reflect the name of the glorious holy book, Al-Quran al-Majid. Now, no more writing. Thank you very much indeed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh marratan thaniya. Now, this is the very first measured plan of Baghdad, 1853-1854, by an Englishman called James Felix Jones, who was a naval officer in the British Navy, which was obviously in India, and an archaeologist named by William Wood. And I put this one in because to see how compact the houses and the alleyways, etc. And then to show you how it actually grew. Now, this is roughly the same thing in 1908. It is by the staff captain Rashid Al-Khoja, who was a member in the Ottoman Turkish army. And on the right-hand side, he actually puts the names of main buildings as well as neighborhoods. And this is him again in 1920 to 1923, as written in Ottoman Turkish in here, using also the plan provided by the German army of 1917. Sadly, someone written on there claiming that it was his, Ahmed Zaki, not Ahmed Zaki Yamani, you will understand. And he gave the date as 1919. In fact, the date in there, in Hijri, 1338 1883, and then anyway the equivalent is 1920 and 1923. Therefore, that date there is actually false. It's very important to go to the original sometimes. And that is by German architects and archaeologists, 1911 to 1920. Now in there is the round city of Baghdad, established by Al-Mansur, 762 to 769. And it's very close to the Tigris as well. There is a town in there called Kadhimiya, which is where the Imam Musa al-Kadhim and the Imam Muhammad al-Jawad buried there. And incidentally, opposite them, there is the shrine of Imam Abu Hanifa. Sadly, he is sometimes called Al-Imam Al-A'zam, and the area is Al-A'zamiyya. He was given the job by Al-Mansur to be in charge of counting the bricks on the round city of Baghdad, because he was Amin and well trusted. And he did that very carefully. Rather than measuring each one, he had a graduated stick, and he used to take the length and width plus the height, and therefore get the number. That system is used by surveyors nowadays, whether in archaeology or in building, to do exactly the same thing. This is Baghdad in 1965 by the planning section of the municipality of Baghdad. And that is the old area of Baghdad. There is Kadhimiya, and opposite that is A'zamiyya. And you see most of the development, gridiron, and not necessarily courtyard houses at all. And this is Baghdad in 2012, Google. Really, this is where I start the main subject. This is a courtyard house. It's called Diwan Khana, which is in Ottoman Turkish. It's Selamlik, yeah? And it's belonged to Al-Estarbadi family who came from Estarbad in Iran. And it's situated close to the Kadhimiya shrine, yes? And it's obviously, you've got the main thing is the courtyard itself in the middle of the house. Then you enter here through a cranked or a bent entrance. And then you have the habitable spaces. In this one you have a talar, where actually the people retire to when the sun has covered the courtyard. And then when it is actually covered fully, they actually go down to the Neem Sardab. Neem is half. Sardab, Sard, Ab, cold water. Yeah, and that's where the water was installed. And it's got a big dome and a smaller dome, and I'll show you these as well. Now the courtyard, it actually provides sunlight, daylight, ventilation, visual and oral connection between the various houses on 2 levels. Yes. And it communicates with the rest of it. Now in this case, very clever, is that the staircases in sanitary, they are actually facing northwest, which is undesirable orientation, and hence they put the better ones there. This is the Neem Sardab. When you go down, it's about 2.5 meters below, and it's got the air scoop, the bad gears, yes, and it's got the Zambor, Zamin Boru, Farsi and Turkish, meaning subterranean duct. You are protected by the volume of the earth, because it's 2.5 meters down, by the retaining wall, the thick retaining walls, and therefore this is where people actually sleep during the afternoon siesta, al-qaylula, yeah? So they spread the mattresses without springs onto the floor on straw mats, yeah? And if you are feeling very hot, you take the mattress away and you sleep on the floor, and it's very cold indeed. And the bad gear is actually, the surrogate is under the floor of the name Sardab. There are canals, you know, Zir Zamin, yes, and every now and then you get a tile which is perforated, and therefore the air is actually never stale. It stays fresh. And this is the first floor. You've got the void of the courtyard and the 4 access balcony, which we call Mamsha, exactly which you were right. And then you've got an Ursi there, an Ursi there. And then this Tarma is above the Talar. Ursi, some people thought it might be a Russian word, but it isn't. Its origin is actually pure Arabic. It's Ardiyya Dar. It's across the courtyard. But people who don't speak Arabic, they change the Ardi to A, and then the Sin to Zayd. Therefore, it became Ursi. And that's according to a manuscript in the 16th century. So I didn't invent it. They told me it was Arabi, and then I had to relate it to modern Arabic. All right. If you see in here, the Ursi, you actually go to it from the shorter side, and that is in order not to divide the room into left and right. So you have the head of the family in here, receiving his guest in there, and this is where they actually leave their shoes. Kafs, Khan. Kafsh is slippers or shoes, and Khan is Arabic for Makan, and usually have an attendance there. And even this sometimes is called Iwancha, because it's small Iwan. Yeah? And you go in here, and in there you will see a slide. You have, at the threshold, there is a 6-inch or 150 millimeter board to remind you to take your shoes off. Yeah. Now you could see that it is absolutely symmetrical. It is 7. Is that related to the سبع سماوات طباقة وسبع أراضين? It has nothing to do with the days of the week, but it might. It has always been considered a lucky number, 7. Yeah? And these windows, ladies and gentlemen, they are double glazed. 1850. When I designed houses in North London, they told me we don't need double glazing. And yet all the windows with humidity comes down and spoils the windows. But these I'll show you some photograph of. I want to hurry up a bit. Oops, sorry. And this is the upper part of it. Yeah? And you see in the corners, because they were going to turn into dark corners, they have put some rooms which are probably for the servants or for the eldest son if he wants to, be on his own. But it's actually Kebsh Khan, the name Kebsh, meaning haram. But in Arabic language, it also means the head of the family. And Khan is Makan. Therefore, this is where the head of the family would retire to, away from the hustle and bustles of the courtyard. Sorry. Yeah, this is the mezzanine level, and in here you get these Kebshkan, yes, and that one goes to the family, and then you have also the Badgirs itself in here, and they usually have these razuna or kuwat niches, and this is where they exhibit the things that are valuable for the family itself. That is the roof terrace, and this is where people spend the summer nights from mid-May till mid-October, and it's divided between, in the case of a haram house, it's divided between the parents and the children on one side, adult female on the other, and then adult male on the other side. And if they have visitors, they can always put bed sheets on the balustrades, to give them privacy. And then please see the opening of the Badgirs in here. These are because the wind is coming that direction, and this one faces the prevailing wind. And in Baghdad, the prevailing wind is from the north, northwest. And there is a section of the same house. You got the courtyard on the ground floor, and this is called talar. Talla yatallu, it means to overlook. And then the tarma is on top. Again, notice even the niches are 7 niches. To me, there is actually a visual indication for that. And that is when you look at something and open them, your eyes are taken sideways, extending. While if you put it against a column, your eyes are left on the column to see whether it is left or right. And I think that you will see it in the windows. Anyway, this is the double height Neem Sardab. You come down 2.5 steps. And this is used from mid-May to mid-October. And in here there is a timber gallery, takhta bush. Takhta Farsi meaning timber, platform, bush or bosh in Turkish meaning there is nothing underneath it. Therefore it's a suspended floor. And this could be used in spring and autumn when it is too cold to actually be on the floor in here itself. And please notice the symmetry in here. And these are the ursis, and the kabshkan is at high level in there, in the corner. And then there is the roof terrace itself and the usual balustrade. Okay, I have to hurry up. This is looking towards the dome in the Neem Sardab, and it is called Araq Chin. Araq meaning sweat, Chin Farsi meaning Jami' al-Araq, because it sits exactly like the Araq Chin, in Arab culture itself. And if you see in here, there is, in fact, in the past, they used to have a banner from a very coarse material with a banner on, with a batten on top, a batten on bottom. Everyone, and then they drop it down in water, and then they lift it up. And usually there is a servant sitting in the entrance hall, attached to a wall, and he will bring it forward and backwards to create a movement for the people sleeping there. And to me, this is the exact opposite of what the Muslims have experienced as sailors, because you have the wind creating the movement. In this case, we create the movement in order to create a movement. And that is a fascinating culture. Now this is actually in Islamic architecture, it's a 4-center arch, which is 1, 2, and then these small ones here. Sadly, the English have taken the name for themselves. Okay. This is the courtyard itself, and here you're coming into the courtyard. This is the staircase to the Neem Sardab, and then this is the staircase for the first floor. There is the first floor, and then you have the mezzanine level itself. And this is the main window at ground floor level for the Neem Sardab. And here you could see actually the concept of symmetry using Islamic geometric patterns. And if you want more ventilation or contact with the people, you just simply open the central window. This is another house, and it's a house I'm interested in because it's got the Sardab itself. It's actually 6 floor levels. We have Sardab, we have Neem Sardab, we have ground floor, and we have first floor, mezzanine level, and the roof terrace. All from the outside within 2-story house. And yet inside is 6 habitable floor levels. Now this is when it is very hot, say in June, July, the people would descend from the Neem Sardab to the Sardab itself. And itself, you see, is actually, it's a dome in there and a small dome there. And then solid staircase coming down. It so happened that this was actually designed by Iraqi, Arab, Muslim master builders for Iraqi, Arab, Jewish, wealthy family. And I'll tell you why. There is nothing about it to say it's Jewish. Some Jewish people said Subhi Al-Azzawi has identified 4 Jewish houses. But in fact, these are Iraqi master builders' houses, and they have patterns. And what is so interesting is that they have taken into consideration the requirement of the Jewish family in here. So you've got here the bent entrance, the talar, 3 talars, 2 talars identical, and behind them is the Neem Sardab. And these windows actually to get the air from the bad gear in through through roofs. And these are actually the roof lights for the Sardab itself. And there is the Sardab itself. You've got the Neem Sardab, and then you go down to the Sardab itself, which is like a square with an Iwan like on 4 sides. Now the reason I discovered this was for Jewish family. You see the symmetry. These are arches, 4 arches. The English call them Tudor arches. But these Islamic arches, they go back to 778 in Al-Ukhaydar, as I showed you. So there is about 1,000-year difference, but they insist on call them Tudor arches. Yes, we provide and they take over. Welcome to it. Yeah, and then in here there is, on other side is a Rahu, not Rahram, Rahu. It is Arabic name for a place which is either slowly below ground or slowly above ground. In this case, they actually use all the fruit and vegetables in summer to keep them cool, because they have the mass of the earth around them as well as the roofs. And then you go down to the Sardab, and this is what we call, it is 2.5 meters below the Sardab itself. The Sardab is actually 4 meters below the courtyard. And this one again is 2 meters below that. This is the well where Jewish women immerse themselves in it at the end of their menstruation period in order to purify themselves. Muslim women go to the hammam. There is a difference, because Muslim women have to, just like baptism, to insert themselves in. To this day, in Golders Green, there are actually houses where these wells are actually used, because this is part of the ritual called the mikvah in Hebrew. And this is the first floor of the same house. Again, you could see the Ursi one. This is, yes, you've got the Ursi in here and another Ursi there. Again, 7 windows, yeah, double glazed windows. There is the Ursi, and you could see these vertically sliding sash windows, double glazed. And these are actually 12-sided stars, okay, with mirror insets. 12. إن عدة الشهور عند الله 12 شهرا. Yes, but there's also, I show you the concept of a 12-hour day and a 12-hour night later on. But this is also double glazed. There is the inside of it, and you could see these double glazed. And I'll show you a typical one, which is actually, there we are. This is giving you the maximum light. This is slightly less. And then you have where you have the timber columns, it's actually darker. Yeah. Now 12-sided, in the equinox, it's 12-sided day, 12-sided night. All right. Also, عدة الشهور عند الإسلام 12 شهرا. But surrounding the 12-sided, 24 star. The 24 refers to the 24th day of the 24 hours in the day itself as well. Now, I must say this because this is a Ja'fari family. It could mean 12 is the 12 Imam. And the 24 is that we are said in the Quran and other places, we each have 2 angels on our side. This is when we pray, we say, Assalamu alayka ayyuha al-malik al-ayman, Assalamu alayka ayyuha al-malik al-aysar. And that explains the 24 as well. So you have climatic, environmental, as well as religious. This is the main ursi, which is identical, and this is the inside is a lot richer than the other one. And you could see you receive maximum sunlight in here, and then this is exactly like the Georgian house, where in the windows of the Georgian house they have shutters, and the shutters are actually at 45 degrees in order to reflect. The Muslim solved it in here by having these bordered windows. That's the inside of that, and that is the 15 centimeter atba, so that you actually are forced to take your shoes off. This is another house, yes, belong to the same family. It's just to show you the height of the building. You've got the sardab in here, the entrance here, staircase to it, and then you have the ursi and these columns, which are actually a whole tree. They have made it into an octagon in shape and taper towards the muqarnas head in order to receive the wide beams itself. I must hurry up. And that is the same house. These are. And there is the tarma, as I've said before, the columns again. And there is the tarma at the top and the bottom, and you could see the symmetry. When you talk to the master builders, they said, yes, وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ عَيْنَيْنِ وَلِسَانًا وَشَفَتَيْنِ. See, there you could go on as, إِذْنَيْنِ وَذَرِذَاعَيْنِ. Yes. هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُمْ فَأَحْسَنَ هُوَ الَّذِي صَوَّرَكُمْ فَأَحْسَنَ صُوَرَكُمْ فِي الْأَرْحَامِ. So these people were actually aware of what's in the Quran and also al-Ahadith al-Nabawiyya al-Sharifah. That's a tarma and a ta in another place. Please notice the 3 inlet, or should say outlet of the Badgir. The Badgir is on the roof terrace, and you get in here. This house was rebuilt in 1938, but keeping the same concept. And that is the mezzanine level, at high level, and that's the first floor of the Diwan Khana. I want to move very quickly to this house, which I only included today. It's a double height neem sardab, a double height neem sardab, and single height neem sardab. And on the ground floor, you come in, and you can, if you are a visitor, you go to the Jamkhana here, or you go and receive in the double height neem sardab. The single height neem sardab are really for the family and for female visitors. And then you get, again, you get 3 ursis, which I will show you, and then the high level. And this one is a 2 courtyard, because there is a matbakh courtyard in the corner in there. There is in section, you could see the ground floor, the first floor, and the mezzanine level. And this is the double height neem sardab. I couldn't get a better one, but I have, this is the picture of it in there. It's the same house. You get the ursi, you get the kapshkan on the other side, and you get the kafshkan in here. This is where you leave your slippers, etc., so that you don't leave them in the tarma and that get wet in winter. Yes, at the same time in winter, you don't open the door immediately to the courtyard, it will get terribly cold. You get that. This is one way of reducing the current of that one. That's ground floor and first floor. Now, This is a very small house. I wish I could have measured that environmentally, but I couldn't. I used my mother to actually go to the neighbors and allow me entrance to these houses. This is one of the smallest houses I've ever measured. It's 5.5 meters by 9.5 meters. It's less than 55 square meters. And it's got a courtyard, 3.65 meters on each side. Absolutely perfect. And designed in the 1920s. You still have the tarma in here, or the talar. And then you have 2 rooms in here, or 1 room. It's called jam khana. Jam is Farsi for glass, and khana means room in Farsi as well, although the khana could mean other things as well. And notice the symmetry on 3 sides, indeed. There is the Neem Sardab in this house. You go down about only 5 feet rather than 2.5 meters. You get these clerestory windows in here to the courtyard, and then you have additional roof light, and then the outlet of the bad gears itself. I have to hurry up. First floor, again you have the memsha all the way around it. We call it access balcony. You have 1 room at the back and 1 room at the bottom. And then the Shah Nashin, the extension over the alleyway, which is really Shah Nashin, meaning the seating of the king. In this case, the seating of the head of the family. But it is used as a bedroom as well. The thing about spaces in here, they are multi-purpose. They're not designated sitting room, family room, etc. You use it multi-purpose. You could receive guests, you could eat, you could sleep in one of these rooms, depending on the size and the status of the family. And the roof terrace in here. So you have 1 roof for the parents and the children, and another one for probably adat males or adat females. And there is the section of it. There is the Shah Nashin, and there is the single height Neem Sardab, and there is the Jam Khana, and there is a room and ursi, and there it is. And please notice the spatial volume of the house, of the alleyway. It resembles a ziggurat. It is wide on the ground floor in order to have the maximum people walking through. It gets smaller because of the outward projection, but you still have adequate ventilation, and then it gets even smaller at roof terrace to reduce the sunlight into the alleyway itself. And these alleyways are the most favored places to go through Baghdad because it's nice and cool, and the Shah Nashin protect you from occasional rain in winter. There it is. This is a view of it. This is a bigger house, and you see the Shah Nashin itself. The elevation is a blank wall on the ground floor for privacy reasons. The only opening is the front door. Also during problems with security, no one can enter apart from that. And then this one is the Shah Nashin on the first floor itself. It's timber, and it's almost like a curtain wall building. That is the house I was discussing with Bayt al-Khatib. You got the main Shanashir, then you got the Kafshkan and Kafshkan on the other side. And sometimes they have these windows in the Kafshkan. So in winter, when the family actually stays mainly on the first floor, if there is a knock at the door, they will see who is actually calling, and then they will drop the key for him or her to go without having to go down. Can I have a bit of water, please? This is the same house, showing the elevation. You've got 5. Oh, thank you very much indeed. You've got these windows. So you've got this. It's called Qaima Khan. Is actually like a shutters. So when you want to actually daylight, you get it in here. If you want to have ventilation, because you actually live take this off and you draw that down. And usually on the first floor, where you have houses facing each other, the lower part is actually windows, but they are in the same pattern as glazed, within the glazed. Within glazing bars. Like the courtyard as seen from the roof. Now, larger houses, you got haram and diwan khana. Diwan khana is the reception for the head of the family. Diwan khana is the house for the whole family. You see the hexagonal entrance in here, and then you've got another one for that. And then this is the riwaq on the ground floor, which is very unusual. 1850, and it turned into a hotel. That is the first floor. I wanted to show the first floor because, oh my God, astaghfirullah. Three courtyard house, and again another house, Murad Effendi, and exactly the same thing. This is a 4 courtyard house. We have haram, we have salam lik, we have matbakh, and we have the stable. And that is the sardab. Yeah? And again there is the bi'r for the Jewish women. And that's the first floor. Please notice in here they have built a room, a sabat across the alleyway. There is one view of the south, another view of Grange Courtyard. And this is similar one, but for a Muslim family, because the wealthy Jewish people were actually emulating the wealthy Islamic family. So I showed you there is no difference between them. The only difference is bi'r al-talaba, al-tabila. Yeah, and that's the first floor. And you see the number of ursis in here. 1, 2, and 3 in the haram, and then you've got 1. And also in here there is what is known as a kafshkan. You leave and you have a mezzanine above them as well. Again, 7 vertically sliding sash windows, double glaze, 1850. This is Al-Ukhaydar. And I want to show you because he's got 4 houses, 4 courtyard houses. The reason I'm showing this is after Gertrude Bell, yes, and the outer defensive wall and then the inner one. And I want to show quickly, she actually borrowed the drawings from the architect Oscar Reuter, who 2 years before that, in 1912, he published it, and hers was 1914. These 4 courtyard houses, you've got a summer wing faces north and a winter wing faces south. With one of them, they've got a riwaq in between. The south ones don't. This is the arrangement of what is known the Hiri arrangement. The Hiri is al-sadr wal-kumman. Al-sadr wal-kumman. It's not like the suit, but it is a Hiri king who was very much interested in the warfare, and therefore al-sadr meaning the vanguard, and al-kumman meaning the janah on either side in terms of warfare itself. But it has also implications climatically. I just want to move very quickly. Even here, you would see there is a staircase going down, and this is a sardab, totally sardab, and this is carved out of the earth itself. So even in here, the date of Al-Ukhaydar is 778. And see, the Muslims are still interested in climatic and environmental conditions. And this, yeah, this is what I would call a mansion in Samarra, 840, and there are courtyard houses in here, And there are many courtyard houses. But here again, the concept of a sadr wal khumman in each one. And that's double-sided one. Now we climatic. This is in Baghdad looking down from above. And in here you have the horizon, and then you have the apparent movement of the sun. Yes, in winter it is here, and in summer it's there, and these are the in between. And these lines are actually the hours of the day, and these arcs are the height of the sun. Now in the Quran it says, Rabbul Mashriqi wa Rabbul Maghrib, the Lord of the East and the Lord of the West. To me, it means Rabbul Mashriq, the one during the equinox, and Rabbul Maghribi, the during the equinox. 21st of March and 23rd of September. It's repeated twice. By the way, the Iranian calendar starts on the 21st of March, which is very logical, rather than the Gregorian one, which starts on the 1st of March, which has no meaning really at all. In exactly the same way that Jesus, peace be upon him, he was not born on the 25th of December. Yeah, that was actually a festival with any. Yeah, but they wanted to encourage people to convert into Christianity, and they moved it. And أكبر دليل على ذلك, you can see, وهزي إليك بجذع النخلة يأتيك رطبا شهيا, which means Jesus was born sometimes between April and June in Palestine, in the Holy Land, and not on the 1st of January. And this is the temperature in Baghdad for 12 months. It's a hump and a button. I actually say it is the hump of a camel and the underside of his belly. And the reason for that, it's much better to look at it like this. You get the maximum temperature and the minimum temperature, and you get summer and you get winter, and the area in between is spring and autumn. But this is a much better way. What I did was to take every 5 days of the month and actually start with midnight, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, etc. And each month is represented by actually 8 measurements. Yeah, and therefore you would see much better the hump and the belly of the camel. For architects, what we need to do is to actually to decrease this one and to increase that one. I imagine them like that. So this is the temperature on top, and that is the minimum, maximum, and the relative humidity. What we want to do is to lower this and this up, and therefore you get much better. I'm not doing very well, am I? Yeah? That's simply the direction of the wind, northwest. And that's another one. Now this is another representation of the wind. Oh dear me. Can I just leave that? And these are the instruments which London University bought for me, took them to Baghdad. And you get thermohydrograph for measuring the temperature. That's in the Diwan-Khana, that's in the Sinek. And there we are. As instruments do not lie. It shows that the temperature on the roof terrace is between 30 and 45. And in the courtyard between 30 and 45. And in the Neem Sardab is actually 30 to 32. So you have a drop in temperature in naturally conditioned building, 15 degrees. And the relative humidity in here is between 30 and 40. Now the Americans in 1923 to 95 did experiments, and I am using the results of their experiments. And what they say is that the comfort zone is between 22 and 27, yeah? And I said, well, let's see what it is like in the courtyard houses. This is the measurements of one day on the roof terrace. The roof terrace has got 7 such measurements, and there are other measurements. Now, when you combine the air temperature, the relative humidity, and the wind speed, or you get what is known effective temperature, which is the temperature you feel on your skin. Yeah? And in here, we see, wherever the temperature within the contact zone, they move from one place to the other. So between these 2 green lines, it is known as the comfort zone, 22 to 27. Yeah? That is the intensity of radiation from Baghdad airport. And then this is the measurement of the wind speed. The bad gear. How does it operate? This is a party wall. You get the prevailing wind coming in and then reflected into the bad gear, because the party wall is actually always in shade, and therefore the air is cooled by conduction through the faces of the bad gear, and then as it cools, it becomes thicker and it continues down until it goes into the cement basement, and they've got water jugs, porous water jugs, which is percolating with water, and then the air actually goes across them and absorbs the relative humidity. Therefore, when the air comes out in here, it is lower in temperature and much better humidity itself. This is where I said the Zambur, that is what it looks like, but inside it, this is what it is for various you got raggi and batiq and vegetables, etc. Now, this is interesting. It is a house built in 1926, overlooking the Tigris. Stop. And this is the courtyard, first floor. And there in here, instead of having sardab and neem sardab, it's called the rahu, which means slightly lower or slightly higher. And then the veranda. You've got slightly larger windows because they want the view of the river. There is the view of the courtyard from the roof, and therefore the orangery is actually covering the courtyard, and it gives you that's on the first floor. Therefore the ground floor is fully in shade. And this is across the courtyard again, and looking up towards the Ursi, 1920s, single glazing this time. And there you got the interplay of light and shade. And you could imagine this going around the courtyard throughout the day. And what they also did, they have camel thorn, al-agul. They put it between sticks, put it against the windows or doors, and they shower it with water, and therefore it brings cold air into the room. When the hot air strikes, it's called desert coolers sometimes, yeah? And this is the concept of air conditioning system, really. And when I was young, we used to have the Arab Bedouins bringing these into the alleyways, and we buy it from them, give them water and some food, and give them money to buy some tea and coffee. And it was like a festival because the children seeing the camels in the alleyway. This is Kadhimiya. I'm just showing how compact it is. Wherever there is a shrine, they are actually close to the haram, and therefore, yes, I'm trying to be, yeah? It's the urban design, if you like. And this is, again, this is the shrine of Abdul Qadir al-Jailani, or al-Gailani. Sadly, this road was actually put through the courtyard houses areas in 1936. Modern road, what can you say? And there is the alleyway as I have drawn it. You could see the ziggurat shape of the alleyway. And then this is where the people walk through. That's an alleyway, Beni Street. And this is another, where the houses are actually at an angle to the alleyway. They extended the Shah Nashin in order to make them either square or rectangular. And therefore you have this scene exactly like the teeth of a saw. That's a bit complicated. It shows you the movement. You know, this is for day and this is for night. I hope when the book comes out, you can read it much better. I have to hurry up. While I was measuring this house, I saw this beautiful sight in front of me. This is the Shrine of Kazimiyyah. You got Imam Muhammad Jawab and Imam Musa al-Kazim. Yes, the 7th and the 9th of the 12th Imamate. But I was here and saw this, and I took a photograph of it. Obviously, this is a flat roof with, can you see the parapet wall quite high, and the air scoop. And this is from the Neem Sardab to the courtyard, to the first floor, to the roof. Now, this is where I ask myself, is it at all possible to incorporate these systems in modern architecture, but not only in our Islamic world, but in London? And I said yes. So this scheme I designed in 1986. This site became available, and it's 2 flats with a communal staircase. This is facing north, and it's along a very busy road. Therefore, in exactly the same way as the Muslims were using the wall on the ground floor to protect the house, in here I'm using the kitchen, the bathroom, and the store, as well as the staircase, to be a barrier against the cold wind, as well as against the noise. And then in here, you got a family room and a bedroom. And it's repeated twice. But in here, unfortunately, there was a public house, so we couldn't demolish it. There is the section of it. Each brick is actually numbered in windows as well in the black wall. So there is no possibility of starting to cut brick or whatsoever. And it is on pile foundations, which go down to about between 8 meters and 50. And this is the view of it. And therefore you get the staircase, and then you have a store, bathroom, and the kitchen. And then the same thing is repeated. And this flat on the ground floor is for a disabled person, where you can have a wheelchair turning around in the kitchen, in the bathroom, and in the sitting room. And this is the view at the back. And I have kept the balcony there to remind me of the mamsha in the courtyard houses, where you go around it. Because if you continue that, you will really have an access balcony. But here I also was hoping that people would have their plant boxes. Yeah? And there is another view. And that completes it. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, probably just before I give the floor, we'll try to wrap up probably in 10-15 minutes. But one point I want to mention is very interesting that Professor Subhi connected between the old and the new approaches that we very often as Al-Furqan are faced with the question, I mean, what's the point of studying the heritage and all these old books? We live in a time where there's technology and this and that. I think this is one small aspect to show how vital is, going back in time and seeing what the solutions were. And we are talking about sustainable solutions and very interesting ones, low cost, sustainable, not too much waste of energy, etc. Anyway,
So if I may,
please.
in that scheme, this is the first time ever double glazed windows in Haringey was used. 1986. In North London, in mid-Tottenham, yes, N17. And I was told that you don't need double glazing. I said you do. But even the manufacturers did not have wide enough frame. So the only space I managed to get is 6 millimeter or 1/4 of an inch. But it was better than nothing. It's double glazed.
Perfect. Let's open the discussion. So please, whoever wants to. Okay, so we'll start with the. Just if you kindly tell us your name and your profession.
My name is Sultana, and I'm a friend
Mashallah.
of the family. But my question is the Jane Nashin, Shah Nashin, sorry,
Yes.
what we would in Egypt and the Hijaz call the Mashrabiyah?
The Mashrabiyya, it's equivalent to it. And what is known in Mecca and Medina and Jeddah is Rawashin. It's exactly the same thing.
And not to take the floor, but the glass that you showed, the 24 stars round the
Yes,
when
yes.
is that stained glass or is it glass mosaic?
It's an early definition of a glass. It's almost like solidified plastic. It's integral.
So it's not the stained glass that you find in Sana'a, for example.
No,
In Yemen.
No.
Right. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
not at all.
Thank you, Dr. Subhi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaykum salam.
My name is Nahid. I'm an imposter. I'm a doctor. I'm a neurologist. And I
Yes.
come to Al-Furqan every now and then for
Yes.
escapism.
Ahlan wa
Thank
sahlan.
you. So, obviously, I'm illiterate and ignorant of most of the detail, but what's really striking, having travelled to Turkey, to North Africa, to parts of the Middle East, is how that Shah Nashin is in all of these countries.
Yes.
So it's a very basic question. The origins of, and actually even the Indian subcontinent, which is
Yeah,
where
yeah,
my
yeah. In
ancestry-
Bombay, you find
Yeah,
in Bombay
so
and in Delhi.
So the original origin of this architecture, because you've shown architecture from the 19th century,
Yeah.
just out of interest, what is the origin? Did it start in one place and spread around? And where was the original, where was the original architect or
Right.
the centre of that architecture
I'll
from?
give you a direct answer. During the caliphate of Umar ibn al-Khattab, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib was in Basra, and he saw some of these, and he described them as houses with wings like the wings of eagles. So obviously they were there in the 1st century of Islam. Yeah? Eagle. Yeah. When the eagle spreads, his wings, this is how he actually described them. But it is also a way of extending the house. Yes. And it is also in timber in order to reduce the weight on the ground floor. Yes.
Sometimes they use them especially in Egypt. They put the burma, the container, to cool the water,
Yeah.
and they left it outside
In
and night time, and then at morning time it's become cold, so they can drink the water cold.
In
I
Iraq,
believe so. In Egypt.
yes.
Yes.
But I think there is a misunderstanding here. Mashrabiyya, they thought from sharaba yashribu, to drink. But in my mind, this is not the explanation. The explanation is more shra'abba unuqu. It means he extended in order to drink the water. So when you look through the screen, you extend your chin and your neck as though you are actually drinking water. But in fact, you are looking down. You will see without being seen.
Plus another thing, relating to the building material, I believe most of the houses, especially in Iraq, is related to their environment, and that's why they are using the natural stone, the ajar, which is
Ajur,
Ajur.
it means fired bricks.
okay.
Ajur, it means fired brick.
It's a limestone, isn't it?
No, it's mud which is fired.
Sorry.
It's mud which is fired. Unfortunately, when you get the stone, you get it in Mosul, you get it in Syria, and you get it in Egypt. And
but
remember, every 25 years in the history of Baghdad, it used to flood either one bank, two banks, or both at the same time. So that happens up to 90. Oops, sorry.
It's okay.
As it happened, before.
It is environmentally friendly, right? The Ajar, because in the olden days they used to splash the water on them. It will cool the space, isn't it?
During the reign of Harun al-Rashid in Damascus, they used to apply 2 inches of mud on the roof in order to cool them. In Baghdad, what we do, in the same way as you actually wash the courtyard around midday in order to cool it by evaporative cooling. In the evening after sunset, you spray the roof terrace with water. You leave it for an hour, it gets cooler, and then you spread the mattresses, etc. By the time you actually want to sleep, it is actually cooled by outgoing radiation to the sky.
Yes.
Yeah.
I lived this time on that concept on the roof. Now, related to the Bagdir, is it just a vent by itself, or normally they put the agul also on top and they spray the water on it so it will cool down?
No, they don't put the agul on top.
No,
They put the agul
only
during the qayhula on the ground floor, even on the front door, in order to bring the cold air. You see, the Bagdir itself is actually cooled by the time it comes into the courtyard.
Yeah. But they don't spray the whole
No.
with water.
That was a scheme suggested by the late Professor Hassan Fathi. This is a new development.
And now the agul is similar to the greenhouse they are using now. With the radiation of
The agul
suction
is
of the
actually
air from the wet areas.
the agul is actually the concept of air conditioning nowadays.
Yes.
You get a filter.
Sahrawi. Sahrawi.
It's called air cooler, desert air cooler. Yeah.
Thank you. Dr.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My name is Ahmed Adwayan. I have a question because you just quoted a description of Ali ibn Abi Talib when he saw the houses
In Basra.
in Basra or in Kufa,
No, in Basra.
because he was in Kufa. Okay,
No, I said during the caliphate of Umar ibn
I
al-Khattab.
remember, yes, but I want to hear the quotation in Arabic if you can remember it, please. What did he say exactly in Arabic? If you can remember the description, because in Arabic this is the original text. I want to.
It is actually
What did he say exactly?
بيوت ذو أجنحة like the أجنحة النسور. He was not actually admiring them. He was afraid of fire catching between houses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And it is expensive as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. You find it in the book called شرح نهج البلاغة للإمام محمد عبده.
Muhammad Abdi.
And before that was Ibn al-Hadid as well.
Thank you. Any other question? Yeah, please.
Hi, my name is Aisha and I study film. I wanted to have a question. What's your take on the downfall of architecture now versus the 20th century? How it had character and it portrayed art versus now it's just really cheap to produce and it looks really ugly, like modern architecture, brutalist architecture.
Right. One thing I didn't say, I carried out exactly the same research on modern houses. So each measurement took 2 hours, midnight, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 15 hours, 18 hours, 21, etc. In terms of the continuous by thermohygrograph and also by measurements, yes. And I don't want to talk about modern houses because that is a completely separate subject. But I'll tell you one shocking thing. Yeah. It was better for the people living in modern houses to be in a tent in the garden rather than inside the house. It was so hot.
Thank you very much. I have two questions. So first of all, what's the current state of preservation of these houses, especially given that they're made of mud brick? And the second question is...
fired brick.
Fired brick, okay. And the second question is...
طابوق مفخور. Yeah.
Okay. The second question is about concerns the large houses in Al-Ukhaydar that you showed.
Yes.
There were tens of rooms in at least two of them. What were these rooms used for? Were they used for to house extended families, or if so, were there separate quarters for nuclear families within the extended family? So, yeah, I think Al-Ukhaydar, I think there were a couple of these houses. Probably take another 10 minutes. Yeah, this one, for instance.
This one in Samarra.
Yeah, the Samarra, yes. But there was another one in Al-Ukhaydar a few slides before.
Yeah?
Yeah, this
I
one.
was interested in the four
on
either side, to the south and four to the north. Because they have الصدر والكمين. So they have the E1.
But I'm asking about the many rooms. Why are there? I mean, are these rooms where they?
This is where the Emir used to actually hold audience.
Okay, right. Yeah, so this is.
And you see, quite a lot of the people in the past, they were excavating, hoping for treasures. But this, I was really interested in the courtyards themselves. Now they are four. Is it possible that he had four wives? Or is it each house is for one of his sons and families? We don't know. But the idea is climatic. جناح صيفي وجناح شتوي.
And the state of preservation. First question.
The preservation of houses nowadays.
Of preservation.
Unfortunately, they are demolishing them for modern houses. Very sad.
Salam, my name's Ali. I'm studying A-levels at the moment, and I'm aspiring to be an architect. I've been following a lot of Islamic architects recently that have been doing talks, and Islamic geometric designers, and none of them have been able to give me a clear answer as to why we've completely left all our craftsmanship to support this action of globalization within our buildings and just completely step away from traditional practices. I'd like to hear your take on that.
Sadly, we are actually losing quite a lot of the master builders and their families, and their sons especially. And in 1972, when I met one of my father's cousins in Baghdad, and he said, don't bother about these things. Go and look at the concrete and modern buildings.
Sorry, hi. Just on the question about the preservation of these houses. They are demolishing them for what reason, and is there any chance to protect them? So put them under the heritage protection as vernacular architecture typical of?
Sadly, in both the Ja'fari school of thought, in Kadhimiya, in Karbala, and Najaf. Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah? They're demolishing them in order to build hotels. The same thing happening around the shrine of Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, including the Diwan Khana and the house of Abdul Rahman al-Naqib, the first Prime Minister of Iraq in 1920.
So there is no political interest in protecting the...
You have to educate the client and especially the government, and they don't seem to listen.
Okay. Well, that's very sad.
Yeah,
but
very sad
Thank you
indeed.
for this opportunity.
That's all.
Good evening. My question comes on a very...
Name first, please.
Yeah, sorry. My name is Francesco. I'm stranger to Arabic culture and to the Arabic geography and climate. I think it would be nice to say Salam Alaikum if I pronounce acceptably. My question is for the house climate control.
I sit down, I am dizzy.
Please, please, yes.
Please.
By the way, if I may just show one thing. When I showed you the movement of the apparent movement of the sun, when I showed you the apparent movement of the sun in Baghdad with the summer equinox at the top and the winter equinox, yeah? Equinox is from equi meaning equal, and nox is night, and therefore is day and night when when they are of equal number of hours. But also what I didn't show was Rabbul Mashriqayn wa Rabbul Maghribayn, which is the sunrises in December and in June, and the Maghribayn exactly the same thing. But also he says Rabbul Mashariqi wa Rabbul Magharib, which means all the sunrises throughout the year and all the sunsets throughout the year itself. That is really my own explanation. Some people, religious, may disagree with me, but at least this is the concept. وَعَلَّمْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مَا لَمْ يَعْلَمْ. Yes. And اطلبوا العلم ولو في الصين. Yes. وَقُلْ رَبِّي زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. There is a quotation, a mithal in English. It says, he or she doesn't leave a stone unturned. Now in Baghdad there is even a greater saying. It says, يحفر البير ببرة. To dig a needle, to dig a nail, and to dig a well with a needle. It shows how careful they are to look after each ذرة من التراب. And that is very important. And when Nabi Muhammad, peace be upon him, he says, اطلبوا العلم ولو في الصين, he didn't mean the distance. No, he also meant if they are of a different race, if either a different color skin, if they don't speak your language. That means if they have anything that is useful to the Islamic Ummah, we should do our best to actually take it, examine it, and adapt it for the Islamic Ummah. That's the main thing. Not أطلب ولو الصين. It means the distance.
Yeah, one more question, please.
I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
No problem. It was much appreciated.
Translation, doctor. You have to translate that in English.
Please go ahead. Arabic quotation would be quite difficult for us. Please.
Yeah.
Seek knowledge even in China.
When he says, thank you very much, seek knowledge, it means any knowledge, whether manual or intellectual. There is a Bayt Sha'r attributed to the Imam Ali, and he says, if a day passes by and I do not learn anything manually or intellectually, then I wouldn't consider it to be a day in my life. Yeah? So he equates the manual contribution to Islamic Ummah with the mental contribution of Islamic Ummah. And that is very important. A woman who actually sew or cook very nice food or teaches her children or be a doctor, she is exactly the same thing as a philosopher in Islam.
Okay, go on to another question.
Okay, thank you. So in fact, progressing with my life, I wanted first to become a man of culture,
Yes.
and after a while studying, I found out the importance of becoming a man of cultures,
Yes,
or many
yes,
culture
indeed,
for
indeed.
one man to be in contact with all the world and possibly
Yes, not
peaceful
culture.
and
اطلب
friendly.
العلم ولو في الصين, you see.
Okay, so we're speaking the same language.
Yeah.
On that line, I want you to understand better. For the house climate control, you mentioned the use of water. The water is spread in the courtyard, the water is spread on the rooftop, the flat rooftop, and this helps cooling down the surfaces in the area.
Let me explain why. When it evaporates, it takes the heat of what is known as evaporative cooler, yes? And then takes it up from the surface of the bricks. Therefore, the bricks become cooler because of the rising air and because it's actually it's got water in it. Therefore, the temperature drops. تكون in Arabic الحرارة الكامنة للبخار. الحرارة الكامنة.
Which would mean
in English.
There we go.
Heat of evaporation. Latent heat of
Latent heat evaporation. And it's the same thing with the garden. The evaporation from the leaves. Yes, exactly the same thing.
Keeps the air cooler. So I think this is possible because the climate there is quite dry. If I understood, you have 15% of humidity.
Yes.
Is there a way to manage overheating in humid climate? In Southern Europe, we have humid climate. It's very hot. It's harsh in summer, but still we have 60, 70, 80% humidity, sometimes more. Here in the northern countries, we still have quite humid environment. Still in summer, the temperature is, well, it's not very high comparatively to
but the humidity can be 90%.
90%.
Or more.
But it's very hot for the people living locally that are used to lower temperatures. So there is a way to cool down without using water in humid climate. Why?
You use, there is a simple answer. You use airspeed. You make the courtyard bigger, and you allow more windows on one side, let it come through, and then the beauty of actually long dresses for men, for instance, and women in Islam is that when you're sweating, the sweat becomes next to your body. When the wind comes through, it evaporates, and therefore you feel cooler. The other thing, al-wudu, before the salah, is actually you are, in fact, evaporative cooling your arms, your body, and your head, your knee. Yes, that is really very important. People think, well, this is very Islamic, but there is a reason for it, and this is why you have the jallabiya is quite wide, so that the air gets through.
It seems we'll need in the near future lecture about fashion, I guess. All the details. But here we are. I think we'll... one more comment. Okay, just quickly, please, because we want to wrap up.
Oh, he can talk to him, بعدين. He can speak to him directly.
Yeah, probably, because just a camera, actually. Okay, just quickly, please.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for, you are probably one of the first people I've ever seen that links Quran directly to architecture. And recently I was studying about Fez and the water system in Fez and how they see water as something so spiritual and something so connected to the soul and the nafs. and water used to be something that was as free as air, but then due to globalization, they started charging people for it. And even Fez was one of the first cities in the world to have an underwater, completely intact clay system of water. That's the first ever country.
Al-Wadi al-Kabir.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then with globalization, they made a reservoir which started destroying the buildings because of the sun evaporating the water and raining on Fez, which is something not natural for the climate. And then, you know, anyways, but Wallah, thank you so much for shedding light on that important topic.
You go to Granada and see what the Muslims have done in terms of landscaping. And also, I went to Cordoba, Granada, and Seville, and I studied the courtyard houses in Cordoba. In Cordoba, they are courtyard houses, and the outer door in metal is kept open so that the tayyar al-hawa, you know, the wind goes right through. Even in the alleyway, you feel really very nice indeed. But in Granada, it's completely different. The courtyard is covered over because of the Sierra Nevada mountains and the snow on it. I was asked when I gave a lecture at SOAS, an English gentleman, he said, can you build these courtyard houses in London? And I told him, not exactly the same way. What you can do is to actually provide a glazed roof so that you could actually use it in winter in order to bring the sun and the heat down. And in winter, you have a movable. So this is the whole concept of the greenhouse. The greenhouse, the reason for it is that when the sun actually strikes the glass, its wavelengths change from high temperature, short wavelengths. When it passes through the glass, it changes to low temperature, long wavelength, and therefore it doesn't come out. Therefore the heat is actually concentrated there, and hence you have tomatoes in greenhouses. Yeah, it is really very, very simple. But you have actually, even, you know, the gherkin in London, that is the concept of a greenhouse. But in fact, the atrium is taken from the courtyard itself. It simply covered the courtyard.
Well, we have to finish here. I'll apologize for any further question. Obviously, you would like to carry on more. I'm glad to see all this interaction, but hopefully we'll raise the same topic probably in the near future. I would kindly ask you to join me in thanking Professor. Very interesting, fascinating lecture. Thank you to each and every one of you for being patient all this time. We did start it a bit late. We were a bit over time, but I do hope that you enjoyed the lecture. We look forward to see you again. Thank you so much, and please follow us in our future activities. Thanks to the Al-Furqan team as well for bringing everything together. Have a good evening, and hopefully we'll see you in the near future in our future activities. Thank you so much.